Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back. So I have a question for all of you. Are you busy, or are you truly being productive? And that is a challenge that all of us have as our lists of things to do get longer and all the things that are so important and so urgent fill our inboxes. It's really difficult to focus in on what truly matters. So it's easy to fill our days with things that keep us busy, but at the end of the day, were any of those things actually productive?
Exactly. So navigating time has always been a challenge ingrained in human existence. In the realm of real estate, distinguishing between busyness and true productivity is paramount for your success. It's easy to become engulfed in a whirlwind of tasks and distractions, only to find that profitability remains elusive. So today, we embark on a journey to provide clarity amidst the chaos of daily demands. We aim to equip you with the tools necessary to take charge of your time, allowing you to steer your business towards greater efficiency and profitability. And when we say that time management has been an issue forever, well, let's take a look back in the time of the philosopher Seneca to see what he had to say about it.
So before we go on, today's show notes, actually, because we're starting to have problems packaging all the notes and the show descriptions. So what we're going to do is we're going to have all the notes and a whole bunch of other notes that are going to be available on our free newsletter. So Julie and I have built a free newsletter that all of you can subscribe to, and it is harrisrealestatedaily.com, harrisrealestatedaily.com. So there's just a brief summary of today's notes down below in the show description. But if you want full notes and a whole bunch of other content that we've been producing, articles and such, it's going to be available every single day for free at harrisrealestatedaily.com. Hopefully the link is working down below. If not, you can just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com. On that new newsletter, what we're going to start doing is featuring interviews with some of our top producing coaching clients. So a lot of people that are really very famous inside the real estate industry, people that all of you have maybe seen on TV or heard about. We're scheduling all of them for private one-on-one podcast interviews and videos, and all that's going to be available exclusively in the newsletter. So it's harrisrealestatedaily.com. And like I said, the link to join us down below. So if you're looking for the notes for today's show, because there are a lot of notes on every show, unfortunately, because of the space limitations that the social platforms are giving us now, we have to spin all that off into our newsletter. So it's harrisrealestatedaily.com. And you're going to be hearing more about that as we really focus a lot of energy on making that something that's going to be a real reliable source for people in the industry to lean into so that they can get their real estate information and skip a lot of the fluff that has unfortunately become a lot of the headlines of a lot of the other newsletters that are out there as focused on real estate agents. So more to come.
Very well put. There's a lot in there. So follow along the notes. Tim showed you how to do that. Back to deciding, are you busy or are you productive? So sometime around 64 AD, amidst the bustling streets of Rome, Seneca engaged in one of his regular walks, pondering life's meaning amidst the chaos of daily activities. As he strolled, he encountered a wealthy Roman patriarch and posed a simple yet profound question. Here's the question. Where are you going? What are you doing today? Well, the man's response was, I don't know, stuff. He might have been a real estate agent, right? I don't know, I'm doing some stuff. So his response encapsulates the aimless busyness that plagued Roman society. Much like us today, Romans were consumed by endless tasks, meetings, and obligations, filling their days with activities without true purpose or intentionality. Today we call this work theater. I think you coined that term, work theater, or doing things that look and feel like work but yield unpredictable results.
Let's level off there. So it's really important that you understand what actually is going to get you the most results and frankly, help put you in a position to help the most people make the most amount of money in your real estate business. And those are essentially the filters that you should be running every decision through. So what Julie's about to share with you guys are the specific things that once you master these things, and it's only really 5 or 6 things, frankly, a lot of the other stuff that shows up in your life as urgent, as things you should focus on, you can actually make the decision to basically completely ignore. That's going to be something that when you accept that, you don't actually have to have all those things on your list. You'll feel instantly satisfied. There's the old way of doing it. or not really that old, but one of the, the three filters used to be do it, delegate it, or ditch it. And unfortunately, that's been somewhat bastardized, because what happens a lot of times is agents never have learned to really do all the high level things. And so they end up delegating before they actually have learned how to hold the person that they're delegating to accountable. And so another way of framing that is, if you're going to delegate something, make sure you have mastery of it first. That way you can hold them accountable. Otherwise, all you're really doing is obfuscating your responsibility getting that task done. So we're going to drill down on that in a second.
Well, that's a very key point is, the thought of delegating you can't delegate something and hold accountable if you don't know how to do it yourself.
Well, you know what? I am going to drill down on that a little bit. So I'm going to share with you guys something very practical that I go through personally. I do this probably maybe 3 or 4 times a month. I'm going to go look at the analytics on our YouTube channel. And because I've got 3 people that help us with the YouTube channel, and one makes the short videos, one makes the long videos, one's basically the manager of the thing, and we've got somebody else that works on the SEO. And so what I do is I pay attention to find out whether or not they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. Before I did that, maybe 3-4 years ago, I actually went in and I learned as much about the SEO stuff over the long holiday break as I possibly can, all the YouTube stuff. So at least I had an idea of what they should be doing on a regular basis. But since then, there's 2 platforms that have emerged. One's called TubeBuddy, and the other's called vidIQ. So what I'll do to actually make it so that I've delegated, but I haven't obfuscated my responsibility to the particular task of our YouTube channel, is I'll go into vidIQ and I'll see what vidIQ is telling me is right or wrong about all the videos. And it actually gives you a checklist of what's being done and what's not being done. What I'll typically find is even a great assistant, even a great team member, they're going to start getting lazy about simple things. They're going to start, you're cutting and doing a lot of cutting and pasting and just a lot of the lazy stuff. And then sure enough, vidIQ will flag it as being, well, these are not the right tags, or these are not the right keywords, or these are not the right this or that, the other thing. And had I not actually called that person to focus on those things, they would have kept on doing it the easy way, the lazy way, dare I say. So when your staff knows that you are watching and that you're actually knowing what to hold them accountable, they're not going to try to, frankly, be lazy. Or at least if they are, they know they're going to be held accountable to it. And where agents really drop the ball, I'd say the biggest black hole of wasted opportunity is definitely on lead, pre-qualification and things like that.
For sure.
So let's get to your first point.
All right. So thank you for sharing that example, though, because there is a difference between delegating versus delegating and holding responsible or accountable, right? So point number 1, here's where we get to the taking action part. First thing you're going to do is keep a time diary. Track how much time you are spending on the things that make you money, otherwise known as profit, in real estate. Those things are proactive lead generation, furiously fast lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, presenting, negotiating, and closing. Agents who run a for-profit practice, not an inadvertent nonprofit, spend at least 80% of their time on those activities on workdays.
Let's really focus on what Julie just said. Those are really, truly the only activities in your real estate practice, no matter how big your team gets, no matter how big your whole everything gets. If you want to know where you're focused, let's say you have a team of 50,000 agents that are part of your brokerage, and you're wondering why sales are slipping, or you're wondering why profits are slipping, you're wondering where can you actually get the most benefit for your effort. It's going to be on those activities: proactive lead generation, furiously fast lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, presenting, negotiating, and closing. Now, here's what happens if you're not really doing a high level of that. You're going to see more leads being generated, but fewer closings happening. Why? Because the lead generation sucks. That's why. It should be obvious. Or you're going to see more money being spent on lead generation. Okay, I was using an example of essentially fewer closings, but here's really the red flag. More and more money being thrown at lead generation and no improvement in the number of transactions, or no improvement in say, for example, buyer agency contracts being signed or listing contracts being signed. Why is that happening? Again, crappy pre-qualifying. In other words, the agent is getting the lead, and yet they're not actually doing a very high level job of figuring out what the motivation of that person is, so they can decide. Because what's happening is they're taking the short path, and they're being lazy, and they're just tossing them into some sort of fancy CRM, fancy with air quotes, and they're essentially delegating is how they're rationalizing it, but there really is obfuscating their responsibility to make sure that lead actually becomes a closed transaction. You guys get it? And so you go through these 5 things again. They're actually 6. So read them again, Julie.
That's right. Proactive lead generation, furiously fast lead follow-up, pre-qualifying using scripts, presenting using scripts, negotiating, and closing. And if I put those, we often talk about this on podcasts. I do this in order on purpose because without proactive lead generation, the rest of the list is irrelevant. So,
No, this is good,
yeah.
Julie. So why in this order? So proactive lead generation means that you're obviously generating leads. That's the biggest responsibility you have in your business. As soon as you stop generating leads, you might have a great month, maybe great 2 months, maybe even a great quarter, but it's going to be followed by a really crappy quarter because you stopped doing the proactive lead generation. And lead generation, passive lead generation, and proactive lead generation, two very different things. The passive lead generation, let's just say you're flinging your credit card number to every single, person that calls and or emails you or texts you or
Lead dealers.
Lead dealers, right? You're essentially buying leads from every single lead dealer that comes your way. Well, you might be generating a lot of leads, but you're also going to absolutely eviscerate your profit because you're going to have paid all your potential profit, assuming you even get any close. You guys get it? So this is the cycle that a lot of agents find themselves in because they've never learned how to be proactive lead generators. A proactive lead generator is somebody that can actually generate the lead themselves, or they have themselves and their team doing it. And as a result of that, they actually have more closed transactions that are a hell of a lot more profitable. Now, Julie and I aren't in agreement about this, but she always puts furiously fast lead follow-up. I'm not this, let's leave the debate as to what order they should be going in, but let's just focus on why that's important. If all of you want to know how to have an immediate benefit and increase closings, the best, easiest thing for you to do is be urgently fast with your, furiously fast with your lead follow-up. I'll define it for you. If someone texts you or communicates with you in any way, it does not matter if it's messaging you through one of the apps or whether they're texting you or calling you or whatever, you call them back within a minute or less. Matter of fact, you answer the phone if they happen to message you right away. And don't fall into the, thinking that, well, just because they messaged you on Facebook, you're only supposed to message them back on Facebook. That's dumb. You pick up the phone and you call them. A call is always going to have better results. It should be obvious to you why. Because if you're just texting, you're reading what they said, right? And you're hopefully interpreting the emotions and everything that they're, you're trying your best to interpret that little short text. Maybe they're throwing in some emojis and all this other. Now, if you call them, you're now able to use more of your senses. You're now able to use more of your intuition, and you're actually having meaningful conversations that you're able to then translate into, you're following our pre-qualifying script, which leads to the next thing. So you're having a meaningful conversation with this new lead, and you're pre-qualifying them along the way using our pre-qualifying scripts, which a script is a conversation outline. That's all you're doing. You're going through the process of finding out what their motivation is. You're going through the process of actually deciding whether or not this is someone you want to be focusing any of your energy on, and then presenting. Presenting is obviously very important. You have to present on to have a buyer obligate themselves to you and have a seller obligate themselves to you. That's, the professional approach to selling real estate. And then negotiating, whether it be, the negotiating falls into many buckets, but the essence of it is if you're terrible at negotiating and good at the rest of the things, you're not going to be closing many transactions. But fortunately, in a market like this, negotiating is fairly simple in most markets. And then obviously closing. Closing specifically to getting the contract signed, be it on the buyer side or getting a listing contract signed. Now, why is it incredibly important that you are unbelievably selfish with your time? Because you have a limited amount of time on this planet, right? All of us do, unless you're a vampire, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
And you have a limited amount of time that you can spend per day really focused intensely on real estate. Remember, the whole point of this podcast is helping you to really drill down on what matters most. And if you have a limited amount of time, maybe it's 2 or 3 hours a day you can spend actually in your real estate practice, the things that you should be focusing all your activities on that are going to put you in a position to help the most people and make the most money is always proactive lead generation, furiously fast lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, presenting, negotiating, closing. What is not on those lists? What did I not just say? Probably if you made your own list where you're spending most of your time.
Well, they're going to.
Okay, that where we're going with this?
That's right. Keep a time diary.
Okay.
So I appreciate you expanding on all of those things because the task here is to actually track your time with your time diary. And if you scan down into the notes, I've even included, so there's no excuses, handled their objection. Well, I have to go buy a diary. No, you don't. There's a link right there. Just print it off.
Remember, the notes are now in the newsletter. They're not going to be down below. So the notes are in the newsletter. So just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and the notes and the links that she's describing are there.
And Seneca advocated for awareness of our actions, urging us to keep that time diary to track our daily activities. For example, how much time, honestly, listeners, are you spending on the list that we just went through? Proactive lead generation, the follow-up, pre-qualifying, presenting, negotiating, and closing. Is it really 80% of your day? Maybe a few of you, could be. But similar to a food journal or a spending log, this practice unveils our unconscious habits and reveals patterns that may need adjustment. So again, you can start tracking, and you need to track for at least a week. Now, point number 2, and be honest, let me stay there just for a second. You do have patterns, you do have habits. And when you track it for at least a week, every single day, all of your work hours, every day for a week, you might find that you're super productive on Mondays, right? And then you're pretty productive on Tuesday. By Thursday, you're exhausted and you do virtually nothing. You might find that that's a pattern. You also might find that you're really productive in the afternoon versus the morning. You're going to see what you're actually doing with your currently baked in habits. And then you're going to assess how much time is actually spent on the things that make you money.
So let me address what she just said, because I really appreciated the way she broke that down. So Julie and I are going to say something none of you have ever probably heard anyone in our position say. Okay, here it is. If you do find that you're really productive in the morning, but you're only really productive, say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, and Thursdays you're basically not in the game. You're just not as productive. Maybe Thursdays and Fridays you're essentially dealing with other things. That's fine. You've got to identify, because here's really the essence of it. Again, all of us have a limited amount of energy that we have every single day. And you've really got to focus in on when you have that most amount of energy, and you have to be selfish about the things that you're going to spend that energy on. Because again, you have how much time you spend spending like picking out your socks every morning. How much time are you thinking about what you're going to eat? All these little thoughts require energy, and the compounding effect of having spent all of your time on these tiny little decisions you made every day. Just think about this. You have essentially every morning you wake up with so many coins in your pocket, and every time you have to make a decision, you're essentially spending one of those coins. And it could be a small, stupid little decision. And it could be a small, little, stupid distraction. But you only have so many coins. And at the end of the day, if all those coins are out of your pocket, that means the things you should have been focusing on, which is the 5 or 6 things we gave you in the first point, those aren't going to even get any focus whatsoever. And it's very difficult to know what's important because everything seems important. When everything seems important, nothing's important. So pull back and ask yourself, and the ultimate filter is, what can I be doing right now that's going to result in me helping somebody and making money in the next 90 days or less? Now, let me be clear. Helping someone and making money. In other words, we believe that the more people you help, the more money you're going to make. That's it right there. That's the whole correlation. So what can you be doing right now that's going to put the most amount of money in your pocket in the next 90 days or less, and as a result of helping hopefully many, many people? It should be obvious to you what you shouldn't be doing. Anything that's speculative. Anything that's going to take a lot of time that's not going to result in that actual transaction happening or transactions happening in 90 days or less. Give yourself the permission to stop doing the things that aren't going to result in a 90-day or less paycheck. It's okay, because what you'll then discover is those things probably weren't important in the first place at all, shouldn't have been on your list in the first place. Go through this exercise, and it's actually an emotional purge. I mean, Julie and I force ourselves. I do this every week. Every Sunday, I'll go down and I'll write down all the things that I think are important, and the things that are really, truly important, which are almost always the same things, I put a star by those, and then I make those my priority for the week. And a lot of the other things that are on my list, here's the funny thing, the passage of time, a lot of the things I thought were important 2 weeks ago, which I never even put myself or any of our staff members focus on, it doesn't matter anymore, and I shouldn't have been thinking about it. It shouldn't have been on my list in the first place.
Sure, it either became unimportant, or it shouldn't have been on there in the first place. And you know what else is, I think they'll discover, because I've done this with coaching clients before with the time diary. That was our first point, is become aware, is that this idea that you were talking about with decision making. That starts with deciding if you're going to hit the snooze button or not, deciding whether you're going to start the day at the same time every day or not. It depends, deciding if you're going to proactively lead generate. The problem is they give themselves the option, then they have to decide, am I going to do it or not? And then it becomes put off and procrastinated.
The word decide is the same word as choice. So basically,
Yes.
If you're having to make a choice, then it's deciding, and that uses energy. So if you just start doing the things you don't want to do and you don't want to do them at the highest level, you actually move with a lot more fluidity throughout the day. But again, be very selfish with your time. And, isolate yourself. And these are all the things that you intuitively know, because if you think about when you get the most results in your life, it's when you're in that real drilled down work mode. But you can design your life around when you know you have natural high levels of energy. That's when you do the real drilled down work, because it's going to be easiest for you because, let's be honest, your energy, I don't mean energy in a spiritual way. I mean literal energy, your physical energy. Because I question even how many hours most people even spend a day doing things that are actually truly productive versus work theater. I think if you really were honest, dear listener, and you were to actually ask yourself, how much time did you spend yesterday doing one of those 5 or 6 activities that was going to result in a paycheck? I bet you it was basically maybe 30 minutes if you're lucky, maybe 15. What if you actually expanded that to an hour, let alone 3 hours, where you're doing the proactive lead generation, where you're doing the pre-qualifying, where you're doing the presenting, where you're doing negotiating, the closing, the furiously fast lead follow-up? What if that became 3 hours a day? Think how many more people you would help and how much more money you would make.
Yes, well, they're going to find out when they do the actual diary. So point number 2 is cultivate intentional choices. Seneca believed in questioning the necessity of our actions, kind of like your list you do on Sundays, right? By evaluating the purpose and the impact of our daily tasks, we can discern between meaningful pursuits and mere distractions, ultimately aligning our actions with our values and our goals. In other words, he recognized that many actions were just work theater, possibly even unnecessary. It's the difference between being busy and being productive. William Covey would agree with Seneca and with us. He said, the key is not spending time, but investing your time. So point number 3 is to reflect on time expenditure and then make some changes. At the end of each day, take time to review your time diary honestly. Identify moments of aimless activity and consider alternative, more purposeful uses of your time. Seneca reminds us that time is finite, urging us to make the most of every moment. He said that back when there wasn't even social media or Netflix to distract those Romans, right? He said that before they had all those things. So to drill down, for example, on your screen time, here's another be honest moment. Here's how you do it. We can do it in the notes if you don't want to go through
Yeah,
all
do
this.
it in the notes. So basically, you can actually Google it.
It's pretty easy to do.
Julie wrote down exactly how you can, I think it's in settings actually. Yeah, it is settings. Well, so basically you can go to your settings app on your device, scroll down and tap screen time, and here you'll see a summary of the screen time of your current day, including the total amount of time spent on the device, breakdown of all the time spent on each app, and then the tap see all activity, and you get a more detailed breakdown of your screen time usage by app categories and each specific app. I think that is automatically turned on when you set up your new iPhone, assuming you're using an iPhone. It probably does it on Android too.
You have to you have to enable it to tell you daily as an update.
And the cool thing is if you're on iPhone, iPad, iWatch, again, I'm not trying to make you Android weirdos feel bad. That's a joke. Okay, but the reality of it is that what Apple will do is it'll track your screen time accumulatively on that one app across all your devices. And then you're going to see the truth. You're going to see where your energy is going. You're going to see where your time is going. You're going to see where your potential is going. You're going to see the fact that the cumulative effect of all that scrolling and all that time wasting is resulting in you, frankly, not being the best version of yourself as a real estate practitioner. And how is that going to impact you into the future?
Exactly. So that leads us to point number 4, identify the time disasters and work to eliminate them or greatly limit them. Reviewing your time diary helps identify activities that drain your time and your energy, whether that's excessive social media scrolling or aimless meetings. Recognizing time-wasting behaviors allows for intentional adjustments to reclaim your valuable time. So to get control of your time-wasting activities, set timers for yourself or simply have device-free time scheduled and stick to it. When you're running your schedule efficiently, you won't have to check your screen every 2 minutes or to respond to the binging, pinging, and ringing like a Pavlovian dog. William Penn said, time is what we want most, but what we use worst. And I think it's so easy to just kind of zone out. And when they look at especially the screen time, you might be surprised. You could have 5 or 10 hours. And what do you have to show for it? Was that lead generation time? No, it was not. Was it lead follow-up? Were you in front of people presenting? It was not. It was just lost time.
Now, some of the stuff that you're losing your time on actually gives your brain a break. Like, I watched a really great movie last night on Netflix called Spaceman.
I looked that up, actually. Yeah, it does sound very interesting.
Was it based on a book? Did you find
It was
out?
based on a book.
Oh, so good.
I think out of the 60s, actually.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yes.
Anyway, there's a giant spider in it.
His name is Heinous.
Heinous, yeah,
Which is
Heinous.
another great spider name.
Anyway, but here's the thing. Some of the things that you do, like, for example, giving your brain a break and watching something that's totally bizarre like that Netflix show, that's actually a real gift to your creativity because it's going to allow you to refill the cup. Our daughter, Zoe, she's 10. Her nemesis is being bored. Well, she's been having to spend a lot of time figuring out something to do other than being on screens because she's essentially, Julie and I have limited her time to screens for a half hour a day. And man, the hellstorm we caught for that when we put that rule in place. Yes. But guess what's happened? She's had a creative explosion. She's drawing, she's doing crafts, she's doing all these amazing things. And additionally, she's able to hold a conversation and a thought for longer. So like all of us say, well, social media apps and devices, they're all designed to, they're taking, it's not my fault. I love to, yes, it is. Turn the damn thing off. And if you've got kids that are on those things for too long, you got to understand the little brains and children, they're in their actual thought patterns and the way their neurons are all connecting and all that. Those social media apps and that need for immediate gratification that comes from scrolling, you're adversely affecting their ability to concentrate long periods of time. And Julie and I, the version of that we try to warn you guys about is being overly reliant on doing passive forms of communication versus actually having conversations. It's very clear to me that the agent who has the ability to converse with a wide variety of people about a wide variety of topics, specifically real estate, they're going to have converse as in voice to voice. They're going to have the biggest possible, imagine having, those of you who are old enough, imagine having internet back in the 70s and no one else had it, right? That's going to be how powerful the ability to have a voice to voice, actual conversation with someone at a high level. That's how much of an incredible advantage that's going to be going forward, because most of the agents, most humans that are, essentially coming up right now, Generation Z, millennials to a lesser extent, but Generation Z, all these other, younger generations, they are so designed, their brains are being so hardwired to have meaningless, short emoji conversations that they're going to lose the advantage that comes with actually having to knowing how to express yourself, being verbose in some cases. That is going to give someone the ultimate advantage in the marketplace. And same will knowing where to spend your time.
Very well put. It's funny you mentioned that. One of the things that Zoe's school is doing is they're going to do an after-school class called, guess what? How to have a conversation. So
well,
there you
awesome.
are. I know, but that tells you how pervasive it's gotten. And they're also changing the school Wi-Fi regularly so the kids can't just be on it on their breaks. They're being very proactive to try and cut down some of this intense screen time.
You mean by changing, you mean probably turning it off or making it so the passwords change?
Changing the passwords.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. All right, number 5, prioritize those high-impact tasks like proactive lead generation. Seneca, like your podcast hosts here, encourages focusing on tasks that align with our values and goals, maximizing our impact with each action. By prioritizing high-impact tasks, we ensure our time is spent purposefully, moving us closer to our objectives. Lead with productivity. The more you generate, the less you have to tolerate. When reflecting on your time journal, ask yourself if each task is directly related to your financial goals or if it's just a distraction. Again, 80% of your time should be spent creating new business, negotiating a listing or a buyer site, and presenting to or pre-qualifying clients. And if that's not what you're seeing when you reflect on your time journal, you're going to need to make some changes. How do you do that? Well, of course, you can ask for help from your Harris certified coach during your premier coaching sessions. The coaches, like you, have had to embrace and practice better habits so they know what they're talking about. Be surrounded by people who have gone through that and have made those changes. And last but not least, point number 6, embrace purposeful living beyond your real estate schedule, but in support of it. Incorporate intentional practices to your daily routine, such as reading, journaling, or reflecting. You talked about watching a movie at the end of the day. Prepare the night before to accomplish maximum results in your next day. And replace non-productive activities with actions that you are 100% sure will move your business forward. Never end the day with full voicemail, an unanswered email, or an unresolved negotiation. Take control of your time and you'll be in control of your future. So again, for more help on this quest, you can always join Premier Coaching and be surrounded by like-minded, highly motivated, highly skilled, caring coaches and colleagues.
And of course, the Premier Coaching access for the first level is 100% free. And you can scroll down below and click the link to join, or you can just go to premiercoaching.com, premiercoaching.com. It is, I think, 100 to 200 of you guys join Premier Coaching every single month. The feedback is fantastic. We're going through a big upgrade cycle with the products. So those of you who are in Premier Coaching, we're going to be adding a lot more community and a lot more interactions. That's what we're hearing from you guys. You want to feel closer. You want to feel more tied into the other clients, the other students, and Julie and I. So we're going to do all that. We're working on all that now. And I'm incredibly motivated and excited to work on all this because I have to say, the advancements with AI, the advancements with some of these, turnkey platforms that we could be sticking Premier Coaching on. Guys, there's a new app. You should check it out. It's not even new. It's maybe 5 years old. It's called Skool.com, SKOOL.com. That's the platform that we're probably going to be testing for the sake of Premier Coaching. So far, I love it. So we're hoping we might roll that out in the next 60 to 90 days. But look, guys, we are in this for the long haul with all of you. And I know for some of you, this is the most challenging real estate market there ever has been. But I want you never to forget this. You are in the right place at the right time. How do I know it? Because you have a real estate license. Because this year there's going to be, let's say, 5.5 million real estate transactions. All that aside, interest rates aside, presidential cycles aside, all this other Mickey Mouse that, clogs our brains and sucks our energy every single day. Here's all you have to really know to know that you're in the right place at the right time. Here it is. Ready? And I'm going to give you an analytical answer because it does cut through the bullshit, is that there are more people right now that are now wanting to buy a home and will be wanting to buy a home in the next 10 to 20 years than there ever has been in the history of the United States. It is strictly a function of supply and demand. And if you look at all these real estate prognosticators that are trying to predict the future, very rarely do they actually count the number of interest rates, lack of inventory. Well, I'll tell you guys a little secret. There will be market cures for all those problems over time because the demand is there. The market will figure out a way to create more inventory, build more houses, right? There'll always be when there is demand, there will be supply. And furthermore, the interest rates and the type of mortgage products are going to change. So do not get stuck in the mud with regards to the present market conditions or what other people might be telling you. You are in the right place at the right time. Real estate is one of the only industries, the bellwether industry, if not the most important industry in the nation. Oh, no, tech is. Oh, no, finance is. No, I don't think so. Real estate is I think, as far as the percent of GDP that real estate and real estate related purchases account for, there's no parallel.
No, it's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. So you guys are in the right place at the right time. Now, if you want to be successful at this, you got to take the right actions. And hopefully this podcast puts your mindset in a place where you can start receiving what we're trying to share with you so you guys can be part of what will be, in our opinion, the biggest real estate boom in the history of humanity. How about that?
That's a good place to wrap.
That's a good place. So your homework is to subscribe to our new newsletter. Hopefully the link is working as you listen to this. It's called Harris Real Estate Daily. We're putting a lot of our energy behind that. Julia and we have 2 staff folks that are going to be writing content for that. We're going to be doing our podcast notes. A lot of fun stuff is going to be coming on that newsletter. That's going to be one of the ways we're going to connect with you guys at a higher level. And then our community that we've just described for you, that's going to be coming your way as well. So again, take action on this information. We'd certainly appreciate it if you give us a 5-star review over on iTunes and let everyone know why you like today's podcast. It helps us get the word out so we can be more in service to all of you, because that is our highest and truest purpose professionally, be a service to all of you. You guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.